In September, I support different charities, and this particular charity for this year is going to be the Light the Night fundraiser for Leukemia Lymphoma Society. This is just one charity that I've done some vetting on and that I feel is a really good cause. A lot of people that I know have been personally touched by this, so I just want to give back. Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to point out that I've organized all my videos into playlists on my channel. So if you're looking for more videos around a specific topic, especially topics like this with general shoe knowledge, you can find all of the videos in one place so that you're able to easily access everything that's out there. Thanks much. Welcome back, and this is Wisconsin Shoe Guy, and today we're going to do a final shoe battle on the TLB Adelaides. This shoe battle will be about the TLB Adelaides compared to my Crockett & Jones Westbourne. And I actually thought that I had recorded this early on, and I didn't. So excited to compare them. This is two of my favorite pairs of Goodyear welted shoes, and want to talk a little bit about them and what I think makes them unique. Now, this is the Crockett & Jones. Now, Crockett & Jones makes very, very fine shoes. I've been very happy with them. You can see that they have a bit of wear for my rotation, and they are probably my first pair of really slick European Oxfords that I had. And, you know, I've done some contrast polish on them. Sorry, the lacing is a little unruly tonight. But they've got really nice shape on the last, right? So this is the first pair that I had that had this rise on the toe. Has a very chisel last, not pointy, but a narrow chisel. Has a really good distance here between the top of the toe cap and the actual start of the U-throat, which I think is important, right? One of the things that I really didn't like about wearing very wide shoes when I first started getting into the shoe game from Ellen Edmonds is that it changed the way that they were distribution for things like the wingtip and how far that the vamp had between the wingtip and where it started up toward the lacing. And I really think that the proportions on this are good. The toe cap is long, but not too long. The U-throat is good. It's narrow, but not too narrow. And the heel caps really add a level of stability to the shoe. This also has a pretty narrow waist, which I think is very cool. No bevel. And you can also see that this is open stitched, right? So this is a traditional Goodyear welted shoe, nothing fancy. Okay, but a very, very high quality shoe. And I think that is just important to note because they're not inexpensive. As I look at the price comparison, these are significantly more in US dollars than the TLBs. So something to keep in mind there as well. So now as we look here, the broguing is very fine. The boxes are there, but it's probably a lot smaller than most of my other shoes. As a fact, the only one that it's actually very close to is the TLB. So I would say that these, you know, these are like millimeter or a couple millimeter size holes. They're not very maybe 3 millimeter size holes. They're not very big, and you know that is always a style choice, right? I mean, different shoes have different size holes. Now, what I think is also interesting here is if you look at the stitching above and the stitching below are just closer together on the Crockett & Jones. It looks more refined. Now, those of you who've watched my channel before know that I'm a huge fan of TLB, but what I'm not a fan of is if you look here, okay, just at the bottom here, you can see that there is a lot of gap between the brogue hole and this top stitch and the bottom stitch. So it's not as tight. What's the point of having small brogue holes if you're not going to tighten the stitch around them? Well, guess what? Crockett and Jones, they do that. They do tighten that stitch around them so that it just looks more refined. Now, does this look bad? No, not at all. But this looks a lot more refined. Now, when we look at the other details here, you look at the fudging that goes around the edge. First of all, there's more edge on the Crockett and Jones sole visible. It's easier to see the finite details. You can see the fudging. It has the iron edge on the thing on the sole, where they took the time with the extra piece on the Goodyear welting on the stitch machine, and to iron in that little groove, just like my Gaziano and Girling. It's a very, very high-end construction. You know, they spend a lot of time noticing small details. Now, one thing that they do is they have this two-piece heel cap. Now, I'm not really a fan of this. You see it on some, like you see it on my George Cleverleys, and many people say that the George Cleverleys are made in the Crockett and Jones factory, which may be why. Now, when you look at the Gaziano and Girling, and Gaziano and Girling is one piece, has no seam here. My Enzo Bonafe, one piece, no seam. These are the TLB, the Trickers, the high-end Lokes is one piece with a very small seam here. Okay, so and candidly, my not my Enzos, but my Paolo Scafora, Oxfords are one piece with a small seam here. So, you know, you get some really good differentiation between a lot of different brands, and you start to notice things like that. And so, you know, I consider this with the seam, the small seam, to be kind of like a grade 2, right? A grade 1 would be like the Gaziano and Girling and the Enzo Bonafe, where they don't have a seam at all. And a grade 3 is going to be where it's like this. Now, this is very common, right? My Allen and Edmonds have this, and it's you know, it's common among the large production houses where they make a lot of shoes, probably because it takes a lot less time to cut 2 pieces of leather than it takes to cut 1 piece of leather that you actually have to then cut shorter in order to make it around the heel, or to cut 1 piece that doesn't require any seam at all, right? So that is and that's fine. You know, when the shoes are less expensive, that makes sense. Now, my Aldens, 1 piece. It has a little square stitch in that is for decoration, but it's just 1 piece. So just small little details like that are things that I like to actually notice, because I just know enough about shoes, just a little bit, just enough about shoes to notice that that is a mark of high quality and something that the shoemaker takes a lot of pride in being able to do. So now, so all in all, I mean, now listen, I can walk in these for 20 hours a day. Now, when I say 20 hours a day, a lot of people are like, why in the world are you walking 20 hours a day in dress shoes? Well, I travel a lot for work, so I will get up at 4 in the morning. I'll get, you know, in my Uber to go to the airport. I'll fly someplace, and I'll work through 6 or 7 o'clock, and I'll either take clients out and entertain until, you know, 10, 11, and then back at the hotel like 11:30. That would be my long day. So if you figure 4 a.m. to midnight, that's 20 hours. Okay. Sometimes I'm actually flying home that night as well, in which case I might roll in at 2 in the morning. That is 22 hours, right? So in either case, I'm wearing shoes like this, like these Westbourne, and my feet do not kill at the end of the day, where the first thing I want to do when I get into my hotel room is take off my shoes. Okay. Now, I travel like this a lot, or at least I did pre-COVID. And so that is a mark for me of really good quality. And both of these, both the TLB and the Crockett and Jones, fit into that description. Okay. So very very comfortable. Now, if I'm choosing between lasts, okay, and lasts are important, right? If I choose between lasts, I think that the last on the Crockett & Jones is just a little bit more refined, okay? Now that's the top of the shoe. When it comes to the bottom of the shoe, I feel like the TLB Mallorca is more refined. The Crockett & Jones is more refined than almost any other shoe that I own, okay? And I own some really nice shoes. Now, is it as good as my Gaziano and Girling? Is it as good as, you know, my George Cleverleys? No, it's not, okay? But it is really, really up there. And the TLB is also really up there, but I consider this ranked higher than I do this shoe. Now, this has a dovetail rubber heel, okay? It has, you know, a straight line of nails. This has a diagonal heel and has little squares of heels. I like the little squares of heels better, okay? There's the nail pattern, I like it better. This has a gentleman's notch. This does not, okay? Now, since I started really getting into shoes a couple years ago, I changed the way I wear my trousers so that I'm no longer looking for a full break. So I always go either with a no break or a semi break. And if I do that, then the gentleman's notch doesn't really matter, okay? But it is something that I still notice because for a long time, especially wearing Allen Edmonds, coming up on that brand as I did, that was a big part of their advertising, is that they make that notch in order to make the pants not stick when you're walking, okay? So just a small, minor detail, but something that I'm looking forward to. So on the edge, okay, I prefer the ironwork on the Crockett & Jones. On the fudging on the Crockett & Jones is, well, I mean, it's really good. Like my Trickers, it's not on the edge, it's just on the inside, almost like they took the time to do the fudging before they sewed the welt to the shoe, which is possible. So, but, and the same angle here. So it goes from here all the way around down to here. On the TLB, the fudging only goes to here, okay, like a real 180 degrees, because the waist is so narrow that there's no room for fudging. So, and again, if they did the welt there, I wouldn't be able to tell, okay? So I wouldn't be able to see it. So that is, I'm going to say that the fudging is close to equal. What I will say about the fudging on both of these, and I think that this is an important distinction, and I think it's even more so with the Crockett & Jones. Some of the really, really good shoemakers use fudging, okay, which are these little indenting lines here, to hide the stitches on the welt. Now, this is really an interesting thing to me, because one of the marks of quality is how dense the stitching is, right? Now, you can see it on the bottom of the shoe here, so it doesn't really matter. But if you look at this and you look at it compared to, say, an Allen Edmonds, okay, this is probably 2 to 3 stitches for every stitch on an Allen Edmonds, okay? I kid you not, that is a huge difference. Now, does it mean that shoes are going to fall apart if you're wearing Allen Edmonds? No, absolutely not. I really don't think it has anything to do with the wearability of the shoes. To me, this is just a factor that Crockett & Jones takes a lot of pride in putting out a very, very high quality traditional product. That is a traditional measurement of quality, not necessarily something that has any impact on the wear of the shoe. Allen Edmonds putting out 3,000 shoes a day. They're looking at, how do I get 3,000 shoes a day and make them high quality so that they last forever? In their mind, they're looking at, is this going to make a difference between the sole lasting 7 years or 4 years or 3 years? No. The sole's going to wear out when the soles wear out. Generally speaking, regardless of how you do it, the soles are going to wear out before the stitching does, okay? Which is important, right? So if you're looking at, do I want to spend $250 on an inexpensive pair of shoes, or do I want to spend $700 or $650 on a pair of Crockett & Jones? You may not want to do that if all you're looking at is pure quality and how long the shoe's going to last. Now, if you're looking at styling, if you're looking at some of the other refinements that we're talking about here, the Crockett & Jones does not disappoint, nor does the TLB, okay? But the stitches are almost entirely hidden on the top of the welt by that fudging, and that is something I, as a shoe enthusiast, really like. So something to keep in mind. So as we look at the TLB though, I'm gonna have to say from a shoe battle perspective, I like the overall feel of the TLB just a scotch better. And I think it mostly has to do with the waist. Okay? The waist is just a little bit narrower. It hugs my foot just a little bit more. And I just like the way it feels better. It also has closed channel or blind stitch. Okay, so it's a closed channel is technically when they hammer it shut like they do in a vase. Blind stitch is where they actually peel it off while they're doing it, or peel it back while they're actually stitching it, and then peel and then glue it back on top. So it just looks like there's no stitching at all on the sole. And I like that better. Okay, so small detail, but I like it better. Now, as I said before, I like the shape of this better. So even though you know, if I only could afford one pair of shoes, I would buy the TLB because pound for pound, I mean, it is less expensive and it is a nicer shoe. But if I could afford a second pair, I would buy these, okay? Because I really, really like the shape of the shoe. And in my advanced collection that I have today, these colors are significantly different. And you know, really a testament to you know, making sure that I'm trying to, as I build my collection, I'm doing my very best to be intentional and not to repeat shoes in the same style, right? So that is my thinking for today. I hope you found this valuable. I look forward to your comments, so please share and let me know what you think. Thanks so much.